Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving straight into a 600-year-old mystery that has literally baffled the brightest cryptographers in the world for over a century. You know the Voynich Manuscript, right? Well, we're going to reveal why it is absolutely not a book of magical spells or some bizarre alien language, but actually a highly precise, deeply secured medieval laboratory protocol. To get there, we'll walk through a rigorous, reproducible, scientific breakthrough called the Lüth method. We'll cover the medieval illusion, uncover the geometric key, outline the five-phase process, do a live decoding of Folio 116V, explore the René principle, and finally reveal the true LAD protocol. Let's get into it.
Section 1. The Medieval Illusion. When you look at the raw, untouched scan of Folio 116V, it looks kind of like standard, albeit messy, Latin cursive, right? You see what totally appear to be letters, A's, O's, C's. But here's the crazy part. That mimicry is a deliberate, intentional medieval optical illusion. The author purposely designed a script to look like a known alphabet. Why? It was a genius cryptographic choice to protect extremely valuable pharmaceutical trade secrets from untrained eyes.
For decades, everyone trying to crack this code fell victim to what we call the classical alphabet assumption. They assumed these symbols were letters forming phonetic words, they ran massive statistical AI models on them, and they found absolutely nothing. Independent researcher René Lüth decided to toss that entire paradigm out the window. Instead, he uncovered geometric circle logic. The manuscript isn't written in letters at all. It's a series of measured geometric vectors hiding highly specific technical pharmaceutical data.
Moving on to Section 2, the geometric key. The historical connection that finally blows this wide open is just utterly fascinating. It all traces back to Giovanni Fontana, a brilliant 1430s engineering genius, physician, and inventor. He designed a cryptographic system known as the speculum. It's a concentric circle cipher where the angle, the position, and the orientation of the symbols completely dictate their meaning. Phonetics have nothing to do with it. And as it turns out, the Voynich script is structurally tied to this exact type of 15th century circle logic.
So, to decode it, we have to stop reading and start measuring. We need a strict guide for identifying circle geometries. First up, we measure the opening direction. Is the circle open at a 90-degree angle, 180 degrees? Next, we look at extensions and strokes. Is it pointing up or down? Then, we examine tiny little hooks, dots, and connections. These aren't just decorative flourishes, they are precise modifiers. And finally, we analyze ligature clusters, where multiple circles are mashed together into dense, technical abbreviations.
But here is the absolutely crucial golden rule of the Lüth method. Strict scientific discipline. Zero guesswork. None. If you measure a symbol and it yields no result, you never ever reverse engineer it just to fit some narrative you've invented in your head. There is no backward optimization allowed. You just measure again. This is hard, reproducible science.
Section 3. The five-phase process. Okay, so let's look at the actual rigorous protocol used to analyze every single symbol. It's a compact five-phase guide. Phase 1, visual disassembly. We break the line down into individual circles. Phase 2, geometric measurement. We measure the angles against the Fontana logic to lock in a letter value. Phase 3, the René principle. We check for priority double vectors. Phase 4 is Capelli resolution. We take that value straight to the Adriano Capelli archive, which is a massive historical dictionary of over 14,000 medieval abbreviations. And finally, Phase 5, reconstruction of the working instruction. Let's see this in action in Section 4, live decoding Folio 116V. We are going to decode the 4 famously unreadable lines at the bottom of Folio 116V right now, step by step. Starting with line 1, the first shape really looks like a P, but we scientifically measure it as a top-middle P vector. Using the Capelli archive, this specific vector resolves to porta, meaning start or beginning. The next symbol looks like an ebb, but geometrically, it's an E vector with a B angle. Over in the Capelli dictionary, E plus B resolves to ebulum. That's dwarf elder, a plant that was super famous in medieval medicine for healing wounds. So by systematically translating each glyph's geometry into the Fontana vector and then directly cross-referencing the Capelli archive, a totally clear medicinal recipe emerges word by word. The very next shape, umen, is a U plus M vector. In Capelli, U plus M is unguentum, ointment. From just the first 3 measured symbols, we literally have start, dwarf elder, ointment. No magic, just medicine. But, what happens when the method hits a wall?
In line 4, the final word, gasmiko, initially returns an invalid signal. Now, remember our rule, no guessing. The scientific framework dictates a 90-degree vector reversion. So, when measured from the new 90-degree start vector, that cluster perfectly deconstructs to S, M, I, C. And that resolves to smegma, which is a Latinized Greek word for a final cleansing or anointing. The method actually corrects itself mathematically.
Which perfectly tees up Section 5, the René principle. Embedded within this cryptography, we find an incredibly sophisticated built-in error correction system. Back in line 1, there's a glyph that looks exactly like the word uklitter. If you're stuck in the classical assumption, you'd probably try to pronounce it W. But under the Lüth method's René principle, a double vector isn't read twice. Instead, it acts as a mechanical amplifier, a high-priority checksum to make absolutely sure the medieval pharmacist is paying attention. In this case, the double V vector with a C resolves in capelli to unciliter, a highly exact instruction to measure by ounces.
And finally, Section 6, the lab protocol revealed. When we apply these strict geometric measurements to the entire text block, the medieval illusion just completely falls away. Putting all those resolved capelli abbreviations together, we get a complete, precisely dosed ointment recipe. Check this out. Start, dwarf elder ointment, measure by ounces, ox tongue, latinum resin, store in a cool place, white lead in portions, in equal parts, just a little white mala, aloe, let it work strongly, not too much, final cleansing. It is just astonishing. There's no prose here, no narrative filler. It is purely raw, technical, pharmacological data.
Honestly, this proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Manuscript 408 is a technical lab protocol. It is entirely devoid of prose. It's highly structured with initialization markers. It lists specific active substances like oxtongue and ladanum resin, and it dictates strict medieval process controls like store in a cool place and measure by ounces. This is a functional, everyday workbook for a professional pharmacist.
And just to prove this isn't some localized fluke, this identical geometric logic perfectly decodes the super complex concentric circles on Folio 57V, where for years others just saw mysterious, unreadable rotating figures. The Lüth method measures the vectors and reveals a precise step-by-step distillation cycle involving star anise, saffron, and nard. It confirms the method's rigid consistency across the entire manuscript.
As René Lüth himself puts it, every thesis is a sieve that leads to the next. This is the first sieve. This method finally provides an internally consistent framework. It completely replaces wild speculation with measurable geometry and real, documented historical archives. It now stands ready, awaiting external peer review by independent paleographers to verify these truly incredible findings.
Which leaves us with a truly fascinating thought. If the Voynich manuscript, the absolute most mysterious book in the world, the ultimate cryptographer's white whale, is simply a brilliantly secured medieval lab notebook, what other impossible historical codes are sitting in archives right now, just waiting for the right geometric key to unlock them?